All right, so let's pick up where we left off with the to-do list. Now that we understand parent-child components and how a parent component can render a child component, and we understand how to inject some styling into our React apps, let's progress our to-do list forward a little bit. So before we get to styling, what I want you to do is to take these input and paragraph pairs, and I want you to put them into their own component called to-do item. For now, it will still have just this hard-coded placeholder text here paragraph, and later we're going to learn how we can actually make those different. But that'll be the first thing to start with. And then, essentially, you have a blank canvas to paint whatever kind of picture you want. You can make this look as traditional or as weird as you'd like. So go ahead and hit pause and give that a try. All right, so the first thing is moving each of these into their own component. So I'm just going to copy this and create a new file called todoitem.js. And while I'm still here, I'm going to import todoitem from that file. And let's go over to todoitem. We'll import React from React. We'll create our functional component. And we'll just return the thing that we copied before. And remember, I can only have one element that I'm returning at a time, so I'll wrap this all in a div. Then over in app.js, we don't need these anymore, but instead we can just create instances of our to-do items. And everything looks the same. Now, since this isn't necessarily a course on styling with CSS, I'm basically going to cheat right now. I'm going to set myself up by creating a class here of to-do list. And over in my to-do items, I'm going to give this div a class name of to-do item. And I'm basically just going to paste some styles that I've already created. Okay, and you'll notice that, let me make this a little bit bigger. You'll notice that I just kind of came up with a cool little paper looking stack and have a checkbox next to each one that's a little bit prettier with nicer font and a little separation and so forth. Obviously, you're welcome to pause this and look through some of the styles that I have, but it's really nothing too fancy. And since I'm not really a wizard at CSS, stuff like this with the cool little effect on there, I basically just found online. Main takeaways, though, are to remember that if you want to apply a class to your elements, you'll need to use class name instead of class. And if you wanted, you could apply some of these styles just right here inline. So with a little bit of CSS styling, our to-do list is already looking a lot better than it was. Currently, our checkboxes do technically check and uncheck, but what we're going to do is make sure that when we check these, some actual data is changed, which will allow us to do something cool like put a little strike through these texts. Once you feel pretty comfortable with this, let's move on.